This is Dave Wirt from Ag Market News with your weekly summary. This week in Pennsylvania, supplies were a little bit limited this week due to Hurricane Sandy. Some of the sales were limited in their numbers, and we had a few closures this week also. Cattle this week, we had 2,164 compared to 4,982 last week and 5,323 a year ago. Compared to last week's markets, all slaughter cattle sold mostly $1 to $2 higher. Slaughter cows were steady, and bulls were $2 to $3 lower. Steers high choice and prime 124 to 127.75. Choice was 120.25 to 124.25. Selects are 115 to 118.50. Holstein steers high choice and prime are 106.75 to 109.50. Choice were $1 to 102.75. Selects were 95 to 101. Heifers high choice and prime are 123.75 to 125.50. Choice were 114 to 119, and selects were 104.50 to 108.50. Cows breakers were 72.25 to 76.25. Boners were 70 to 74.50, and lean was 64.50 to 69.25. Adams dressing bulls this week were 87.75 to 89.75. Feeder cattle, steers medium large frame 1.3 to 500 pounds were 139 to 160. Heifers medium large frame 1.3 to 500 pounds were 121 to 147.75. And bulls in the same weight range, number ones were 137.50 to 153.50. Calves this week, there was 2,759 compared to 2,843 last week and 2,926 a year ago. Compared to last week, Holstein bull calves were steady to $5 higher. Heifers sold mostly steady. Number one Holstein bulls 95 to 120 pounds were 110 to 125. 80 to 90 pounders were 80 to $1. Number twos 95 to 120 pounds were 95 to 115. 80 to 90 pounders were 75 to 85, and number threes 80 to 120 pounds were 50 to 80. Number one Holstein heifers running about 110 to 135. Number twos were 55 to 95. Hogs this week, there was 948 compared to 1399 last week and 1234 a year ago. Compared to last week, barrels and gilts were about $3 to $5 lower. Sows were about steady. Barrels and gilts 49 to 54% lean was 60.75 to 63. 45 to 49% lean was 57 to 59.75. Sows 3 to 500 pounds were 50 to 53.50. 5 to 700 pounds were 52.50 to 56.50. Sheep and lambs, there was 1,259 this week compared to 5,449 last week and 35.77 a year ago. Compared to last week, lambs were $10 to $20 lower. Sheep were about $10 to $15 lower. And again, the hurricane had some effect on that, with most of the sales going into the East Coast. Choice lambs 40 to 60 pounders were 128 to 132. 60 to 80 pounders were 114 to 132. 80 to 110 pounds were 108 to 122. 110 to 130 pounders were 118 to 122. Good ewes were running 58 to 88. Utilities were about 48 to 60. And goats this week, we had 1,252 compared to 3,561 last week and 3,203 a year ago. And kids were about $20 to $30 lower. Nannies and billies were about $40 to $50 lower. Goats are sold by the head with weights estimated. Selection one kids 40 to 60 pounders were $92 to $118. 60 to 80 pounders were $88 to $110. 80 to 100 pounders were $150 to $152. Selection twos 40 to 60 pounders were $80 to $110. And selection threes 40 to 60 pounders were about $60 to $82. Selection one nannies 80 to 130 pounders were $124 to $138. Selection twos 80 to 130 pounders were $102 to $124. Selection one billies 100 to 150 pounders were $184 to $215. Selection twos 100 to 150 pounders were $110 to $192. Selection one weathers this week 100 to 150 pounders were about $210 to $252. This is Dave Wirt for Ag Market News. Have a good week.